Okay, let's get started here. Thank you again for being here, Mayor Stewart and everybody back there still talking. Thank you. We'll get started with our Game Changer panel. Today we have three people who have made a big difference in their businesses, three unique stories. And here to introduce them all, our sponsor for this panel is Van City Credit Union. So we thank them very much, and I'm going to invite Mr. Keith Tung from Van City to come up here. And it turns out Keith and I know each other from basketball days. You wouldn't know it by the size difference, but we do have a basketball relationship of some kind. So Keith, come on out.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce John Volken, founder of United Furniture Warehouse and the John Volken Academy. John came to Canada at the age of 18 with no money, but plenty of enthusiasm. In 1981, he started United Furniture Warehouse and built it from one small store to one of the largest retail chains in North America. In 2004, John sold his business and transferred all the proceeds into the John Volken Academy, which has the sole intent of meeting the social needs of young adults working to overcome drug and alcohol addictions. Without further ado, please welcome John Volken.
Thank you, and a wonderful good morning. I'm one of those statistics that Dr. Cooper talked about. I came to Canada when I was 18 years old, and I started working on a farm for nothing, and then I actually advanced to become a dishwasher, and then I worked on construction and did sales, and eventually, after some few other adventures, I started United Furniture Warehouse. Some of you may not even remember that United Furniture Warehouse, boom, boom. However, that goes back. I sold it about 15 years ago. But, you know, something I learned there was to do your thing. Because I remember I befriended this fellow, Donald Sugar. I know you remember him. He was the manager of the largest furniture store at the time. And I told him, I'm going to go in the furniture business. And actually, what I wanted to do before was United Buy and Sell Service. I wanted to get buyers and sellers together. And, you know, I thought somebody was looking for a Cessna in Boston and Vancouver. Got a Cessna and got buyers and sellers together. And I thought I'm going to have franchise all over the world. And that was my dream. It never came to that. But I started as with estate sales. And eventually, and it didn't really turn out so good. So after a while, I thought, you know, it was furniture, might as well go in the furniture business. No intention to be there at the beginning. Ever seen somebody saying, when I go up, I'm going to go in the furniture business? Not likely. So and I talked to this fellow, and something I learned there, and maybe we all can learn from that. He said, when you heard I was going to go in the furniture business, he said, John, you in the furniture business, you have no experience in it. And I said, well, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to have, I won't have commission salespeople. He said, in the furniture business, you have to have commission salespeople, otherwise they won't work. Well, I won't have commission salespeople. And he said, and I won't have any sales. I just going to install them, and I say up to 80% off. How can anybody make money buying something, advertising, and give 80% off and still make money? So I thought, I'm never going to have a sale. He said, John, that's the time we make money. Then I said, and another thing is I won't open on Sundays. He said, that's when husband and wife go shopping for furniture. It won't work. Save your money. Well, anyways, I never opened on Sundays. I never had commission salespeople, and we never had a sale. And we ended up with about 155 stores we opened. 2 of them were very marginal, didn't make money. Every store made money. It was great. And then eventually, after, you know, I had all the money, we were Entrepreneur of the Year, and I thought, now what? You know, because I'm not money motivated. I like to build things. And so I sold the business and to the Brick, and the Brick, in the meantime, was sold to Leon's, and you're going to probably hear more about Leon's, but not for me, but on television. But so I sold the business and put all the money in the real estate into a foundation. And I'm very kind of religious, I'm very religious. I believe there's a God and there's a Savior. And now I get emotional. But I wanted to feed the poor. And I went to Salvation Army and Union Guards Mission. Said, how do you do that? And he said, John, there's lots of food around. And I said, what? I always heard people are hungry and so on. So I spent many nights downtown giving out sandwiches, and I realized, yes, that's right. People said, well, your sandwich over there are hot dogs, and I thought, spoiled brats, you know. And so the need was life skills. And I traveled Europe and North America, and I found, many of you probably never heard about this, therapeutic communities. That's a long-term programs. They teach life skills, job skills, and they work. They turn lives around. And I was impressed with that, and I started that about 10 years ago, and it's supported by by my foundation. And we take young men and women and to make citizens out of them, or better, they're all citizens already, but make taxpayers out of them. We make out of takers, we make givers, and we give them life skills, job skills, we post-secondary education, we teach them leadership and social skills. And when they come on board, now think about it, for drug addicts to commit themselves for 2 years, it's pretty awesome. They want a 2-month program, and they're even reluctant to go for that. So the one we're getting are really the down and outers. You know, the other day I talked to one of our students. He said, John, for 3 months I didn't even know where I was. But when they leave, many of them have a post-secondary education, the degree. They all have finished their high school, and they're awesome, awesome people, good-looking, healthy, and so on. So it's very rewarding. I keep on saying making money was fun, but what we're doing now is rewarding. And I really believe in learn, earn, and return. And when somebody made enough money, and number one, you look after your family. After that, help those that can help themselves. We have about, besides this, the John Volken Academy, we also have about 80 orphanages in Africa which we support. And I was in Africa many times, and it's a life changer when you go there, when you see starving children. You can't help but, if you have a heart at all, you can't help but doing something about it. And so we are very pleased to be able to do that. And I have a great wife who supports me in it, and I love what I'm doing, and I'm 75, and hopefully I can do it for long. I'm going to die in a cell, as business person, entrepreneurs and builders, you don't retire. You enjoy what you're doing, and I enjoy what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. I would now like to welcome Wim Vander, president of Knapp Plantland. Wim has been involved in numerous business ventures, including home building, international home and garden wholesale, and he is currently the president of Knapp Plantland in Port Coquitlam. After 15 years as a radio gardening host, he was inspired to write the best-selling book, Just Ask Wim. Alongside these accomplishments, Wim has recently embarked on another adventure, Coquitlam's first microbrewery, Mariner Brewing Company, opening this July. Please welcome Wim Vander.
Hi all, thank you. I'm familiar with this stage. I've been an auctioneer on this stage. I've been an MC. I've been SpongeBob. I've been quite a number of things. So even played a band. My band has played on the stage as well. But a big thank you for the Chamber for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I see a lot of familiar faces, which is nice. I've got to know a lot of you over the past 30 years for sure, my entrepreneurial moments. And I hope I can relate some of my business that has happened that maybe you'll be able to relate to some of your businesses. And I know we're all different, but we're all the same in many ways. My early days started working with my father and running his art Knapp, and it was sort of a family business. And when he sold his business in 1984, I was kind of sold with the business as sort of for the transition. After about a year and a half for working for somebody, I decided I don't like working for anybody, so I'm going out on my own, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't want any help. I'm a stubborn Dutchman. I wanted to do it all on my own. I was able to get some good terms from suppliers for product, and I opened up my first Art Knapp location. Cheap Dutchman, yes, hence the free pen from EPR. Never be ashamed to take a free pen, that's what I say. You mentioned a little bit about what I have done in the past, and just to qualify myself a little bit, quickly go over a couple things. I've had a big media role and big presence from 1986 to present day. Definitely did not do this for money, so if you're thinking about getting into any type of media, there is no money in that, so don't bother. I learned the gardening craft. I became an expert at it and parlayed that basically into free advertising and promotion, and that was sort of, I guess, payment for doing all the media that I did. I did television for a few years and then 15 years on CKNW as a host of Garden Talk, and there's just no way of making that sexy. It's gardening. Author of Just Ask Wim, and yet again, no sex, no drugs, no rock and roll, a gardening book, unfortunately. And, but I'm proud to say that it did become a bestseller. I did do home building, as was mentioned, Brickland Homes from 1989 to 93, and built one of the Street of Dreams homes, and that was kind of a proud accomplishment back then. I owned it was called Grapevine Home and Garden. It was a home and garden wholesale company. We sent products mostly through North America. That I sold in 2007, so as a wholesale side of things, and some of my experience has a wholesale background. And then I had at one time 5 garden centers. I'm down to just one now, thankfully. That was from 1986 to present, and it's, again, currently the Port Coquitlam locations, the Art Knapp in Port Coquitlam. And now 2 breweries. Actually, I have 2 breweries. One is in the Okanagan in Kelowna, opened up last year, and then the Mariner here in Coquitlam opening up in July, as was mentioned. So make sure you visit that and spend money. But it's across from the Milestones in Coquitlam, which is awesome, and that is, yes, blatant self-promotion. I wasn't necessarily successful by any means at all the ventures. The worst would have been probably the home building stint, and that was basically due to the downturn in the economy. Nothing that could have been, I guess, dealt with internally inside the company, but did end up having to deal with that situation. And that was sort of probably one of the biggest hits of all my career. And I wouldn't call this a fail, but the gardening book that I mentioned, there is no money to be made in writing a book either. So don't even think about that. It's basically just, I take it as simply coinciding with sort of personal branding, and that's the best I can get out of that. The subject of today's talk, though, is game changers, and you must always be reinventing yourself as a business, no matter what the business, even just whether it's in a big way or even a small way. We must always be evaluating ourselves, and I have always taken that to heart in my businesses, and we've changed a lot over the years. But how do you deal with customers, bettering your work environment for your customers, for your employees, adapting to minimum wage increases, looking for opportunities, how to increase profits, how to increase margins, how to increase the average sale. All these things are very important, and there's always ways that can be done. The millennial situation, a big situation that I think is something we need to be addressing internally in our companies for the future. I have 4 of them in my house. The millennial age group is 18 to 35. I have 18 to 25 in my house, and again, 4 of them all at home, and I can't say I really like them. I just find that there's very little drive, and there's very little that will motivate them. And I'm going to be speaking generally, of course, and obviously with my children sort of in the back of my head, but it is we have to find ways to motivate them, and we do need to find ways to encourage them, because it's a different mindset. The millennials do have a different mindset. It's a well-known fact that us as parents have enabled them. We wanted to take them on holidays. We wanted to give them the best of the best and the Xboxes and all the rest. And they feel entitled. And that has sort of been, you can read that through millennial books and the many millennial books that are out there. Along with that, they're priced out of the housing market, and they're a little bitter about that too. So, they don't see future in owning a house, and things that we need to know from their perspective will help us understand them better too. Their wants and needs are much different than my era. Again, probably one of the most important things for us was owning a house. We wanted to own a house and have a garden and a dog and all the rest. They're not even thinking about anything like that. But it does make me wonder what is going to happen to our workforce in the future, and it is something that we need to sort of keep that in the back of our minds. I mean, my boys are organic food, hemp clothing, and kombucha. I didn't know what kombucha was even just a couple of years ago. In fact, I read this and I don't even know if I spelled it right. But all I really know about kombucha is that it's $3 a bottle and I pay for it. There's going to be a shortage in the workforce, we know that. How are we going to work with millennials? And I'm kind of rambling on about the millennials a little bit, but I think it is something that is very pertinent for where business is today and moving forward. They like their own hours. They like their own schedules. They do not like structure. They need their Instagram breaks. And there's a lot more that I could go on about them. But again, it's us having to learn a little bit about them to make sure that we can fit them into our businesses. And again, as I mentioned, we should all be sort of giving that a little bit of research. And I don't like categorizing millennials. I have a business partner in my brewery here in Coquitlam, and he is a millennial, and he is more than impressive. As far as business goes, we must be reinventing, we must be tweaking, we must be adjusting and being creative with the intent on keeping our business fresh. And I think you've heard that before. You'll probably hear that again up here today. Those can all be game changers. Those things I mentioned can all be game changers in themselves. But Art and Apps has evolved through the years. And I'm trying to go faster. I've got 15 minutes to sort of go over 30 years of business and where I've come from. But Art and Apps has changed. But probably more recently, one of the biggest game changers for me was an investment in a much larger fashion department. I bought my Poco store and property in 1989, and it was already developed as a garden center. I sort of bought that. And that was at a time when my property was about 10 feet higher than everything else in the Dominion Triangle. And now my property is actually the lowest by 6 feet in the Dominion Triangle. And everything else has been raised to sea level. But it was basically a murky, foggy mess for about 6 months of the year. There was nothing around there. All the farmland was just making everything in that area foggy. I'd go to work in the fog, and I'd leave work in the fog, and rather depressing. But things have changed, as of the things we have sold through the years. One thing is we noticed we've always sold a lot of home decor and garden accents and gift things, but we noticed home decor sales really sliding. Going back about 5 years, and my management team and myself, we were trying to discuss what the deal was as far as why is this happening? What's the deal with this? How can we change? How can we sell more? We need to figure what's going wrong. Well, what we determined is by looking through home fashion magazines and looking at kitchens and family rooms, basically there was nothing on counters. Like everything was basically becoming sort of minimalist. And that was kind of the trend for sure, is people didn't want knickknacks. They were looking to just have something nice and clean, nice clean counters. And at that time, I had happened to go to London on some business, and I thought I'm going to check out garden centers here in London just to see what's going on. And I did go to a few. And I noticed that they did have some ladies' fashions in some of the garden centers there. I got back and I was mentioning to my team. I said, "Well, it's coming up to Christmas. Let's look at something that we can have as a real quick a pick from our customer, and particularly being 85% of them being women, maybe a scarf." We looked into scarves. We found pashmina scarves at the time, and I remember it distinctly. I told my staff, bring in 1,000 of these things, and let's see what happens. Well, we did that, and and they arrived at the end of November, and by the first week of December, all 1,000 scarves were gone. And that was sort of my beginning of the aha moment. At that point, we decided, where do we want to be in this clothing sector? And we decided what price points, how much did we want to carry, what inventory, all the things that you would think about as a category within your business. And we now sell more ladies' clothing than all our other plant categories combined, which is something big that you can say for a garden center. It's impressive, and has turned all garden centers across the country have sort of taken note and are actually doing much the same now. And it also, another benefit of something like that is it's not seasonal like plants, so it's given us kind of a real nice edge and real good cash flow. And we were voted the second best place to buy clothing in the Tri-Cities after 5 years. This was a Tri-City News consumer voting thing, and it was impressive to see that we're recognized as that now. But as well, to my staff, I said, and for you to remember, your core business is your core business. That's what makes you who you are, and that's why you have done so well. And we do have to adapt. We do need to change. But looking at our core is always must be stable and the best that we can possibly be, as that's what's got us to where we're going. And we have done that, as rated #1 garden center by Home and Garden magazine. So kind of nice that way. We many years ago, as part of our package, we had this hay maze, undercover hay maze for kids during sort of the Halloween season. Well, we decided to grow that a bit, and it evolved into what is a kind of a mini P&E with carnival rides and train rides, and we grew, and mini donuts, of course. And we grew that to this fall, to having entertained 10,000 families over 6 weeks. Again, driving sales or driving traffic, which in turn will drive sales. We did notice a spike in ladies' fashions during that 6-week period over the years, because I guess the poor dads were out there with the kids and moms shopping for clothing inside. What I've learned over the years, worrying is never of assistance. I can't tell any of you not to worry. It's inherent. We worry, we get scared, money issues, inventory issues, cash flow issues. There's things that make us worry. But I've always used, in my mind, a phrase, what is the worst case scenario? And if you can live with the worst case scenario, which is usually much less than we think it is, then move forward with what your plans were, what your purchase was, because that is a good way to sort of decipher whether or not you're getting into dangerous territory. One of the statements that I hear often, and sometimes from staff, sometimes from outside, is, well, we've always done it that way. Well, that to me means, well, we should be doing something differently. And that frustrates me to hear that phrase, and it's something that we should never rest on our laurels. We can always do things better. In fact, I bet you all of us as business people here could go into one of our businesses, and they could make improvements in our business, whether it be for cash flow or streamlining or expense saving. And if that's the case, then we should be really looking for those savings or issues from within, and know that there can be change and that we should be the one internally doing it. I'd like to say befriend our bank, but you don't have to be loyal to them. I've changed banks 2 or 3 times. But you should always be honest-ish with your bank. The bank helps us make money. There's no question about that. And the banks need us as much as we need them. And there's no way around it. Banks are an integral part. But a lot of people I talk to are scared of their banker. And I think we always have to remember that we are the customer, and make sure there is negotiating that can be done. So don't be afraid, and go into dealing with your bank in a positive way. Another thing I've learned: everything is an opportunity until you've determined that it's not. I didn't know I was going to be a brewer, but I own 2 breweries now. So I looked at the opportunity, and before you know it, I was involved because it looked like it was a great opportunity. Some of my biggest mistakes came from maybe believing in people too much. Some people just aren't cut out for a job, and they should be in some other industry or some other position. Cut your losses early. If you find that some of your staff that you've hired are not working out, you'll know it very quickly. Inherently, you know it right away, and take advantage of that. One last thing I wanted to point out is community commitment, and this is for all of us. It's something that I sort of, I guess I did from a very early on in my career. I got involved with a number of charities, Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, Research Foundation, Eagle Ridge Hospital Foundation, Coquitlam Foundation, a number of other foundations and boards. I've worked for Parkinson's, I've worked for CNIB, and I originally became involved in charity work because I wanted to give back to my community. I had the time and flexibility to do so. And that in itself, the satisfaction from helping out is really gratifying. Little did I know that what I would gain from being involved in charity work. I have made great long-term friends, many great contacts, gained much wisdom through all of the decades of commitment to charities, and I can't stress enough the benefits of being involved in some form of charity work, some form of work within your community. It pays off not just by being gratified by the work you do for them, but also in many other ways, as I mentioned. I started out this career road trip as this garden center guy, no money, and sort of just building a career, building business, and never would I have thought that and as an end result, I would be a ladies' fashion retailer. Never would have guessed that. A carny operator, never would have guessed that. And then a microbrewery owner. So as business owners, as business people, I think always remember, never say never. And finally, balance. Balance family and work. Enjoy what you do. Be passionate about it. Strive to be a better business, even if you're already awesome, because there's always better things that we can do to make our businesses better. Thank you all so much for listening. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Wim. The last story to be told before you go into our panel will be from Caren McSherry, owner of the Gourmet Warehouse. Caren is the owner of the Gourmet Warehouse, an innovative store offering more than 28,000 products, including gourmet specialty foods, kitchenware, and supplies. In 1978, she founded Caren's Cooking School, one of Canada's longest-running privately owned schools. She also co-founded the BC chapter of Le Deuxième Café, an international organization that promotes women in the culinary industry. We now welcome to the stage Caren McSherry.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to be here this morning and meet a lot of you. Culinary business, wow, it's a competitive world. Anyways, I'm not particularly sure. I'm going to sort of give you my story. It's quite an interesting story, and I'll embellish a little bit, but it's very, very interesting how it started. I'm not particularly sure if you can actually position yourself for immediate success, or everybody else would be scrambling to that starting line. In my experiences, things and events happen. Your world evolves, and sometimes in a very strange and unpredictable way. So be it my story. So many university grads position themselves, or so they think, to emerge with their degrees as superstars. This is my daughter. She thinks she should be earning like in 6 digits. High 6 digits. Most of you know this rarely happens. You must earn your way to the top. The single most important thing you must possess, as Wim said, is passion. Passion for your idea, your career path, or your startup. Mine was culinary, and the journey to present day was not easy. There were a lot of country roads I drove down before I hit the freeway. I was 16 when I truly knew that cooking was my passion. Perhaps a little positioning here would have been helpful, as it took years before I actually understood and valued my inner talent. Back in 1978, I was a flight attendant, then commonly referred to as a stewardess. Who even knows what that is today? I knew then I did not want to spend my life pushing a cart down an aisle. However, the pay was really good, your office was the sky, and all you had to do is be nice. Sucky nice, to be exact. Certainly a far cry from today's version of air travel. Shut up, sit down, or we'll just drag you off. I knew that in order to be 10 steps ahead, a culinary education was the first rule of order, and the airline was my ticket to fly for free. I used all my vacation time to attend culinary schools from exotic places everywhere that food was important. You must remember, this was 1978, a time in Vancouver where dining out was the spaghetti factory, the keg, or large hotel dining rooms. Sushi had not yet arrived. No one remotely knew what the heck a pad thai was, and ramen noodles. What? Attending the best culinary schools in the world was now my positioning. This is hard to imagine, but cell phones were non-existent. We relied on landlines, payphones, and those outrageous home answering systems to stay in touch. I chugged along in the old-fashioned way and spent the next 15 years taking classes from the best chefs in the world that I could find: Bangkok, Tokyo, Paris, Lisbon, and the CIA in New York. I sourced out the cool places to learn, like Washington, D.C., working and sharing baking secrets with the White House pastry chef, and then coming home to teach. My classes were jam-packed because I was offering what no one else could: international cuisine, made approachable and friendly. Remember, I had first-class training in being sucky nice. Since 1978, when I opened my home kitchen to 6 only wide-eyed keen cooks, I've taught over 200,000 people how to be better cooks. I wanted, as so many chefs and wannabe cooks do, to be published. The true hardcore facts remain that unless you were Jamie Oliver, Gordon Ramsay, or married to the publisher of Random House, your first published book is as slim as a snowball in hell. I tried to position myself, but the old phrase, "it's not what you know, it's who you know," really rings loud. So rule number 1, begin making friends with position, clout, and connections. I was not married to the publisher, so sadly, no one other than my students really cared about my dreams to write a cookbook. I put my money where my passion was and self-published. In total honesty, not the wisest financial move ever. But ignorance is often bliss, and I did it anyways. I knew as much about publishing as I did space travel, but I muddled through it. I spent $100,000 writing and publishing this book, and I thought, if I'm stupid enough to go for book number 2, I just better become BFF with the publisher. So I did that. I co-authored 3 books in the Girls Who Dish series and have solo written Vancouver Cooks, More Than Salt and Pepper, In a Pinch, and coming this October, book number 7, called Salads, Starters, and Sexy Sides, will be on the shelves. Just as a side note, as Wim said, no one gets rich in media, no one gets rich with books unless, of course, you are the aforementioned. But they are a very good calling card, and they are the best addition to your resume. The birth of the Gourmet Warehouse was again positioning. This time, much more of circumstance than alignment, commonly referred to as divorce. I needed to find a career to sustain and protect my lifestyle and support my 2 children. I was still teaching, and by now had long left the sucky, nice cart-pushing job at the airline. That purpose was filled once I obtained all my culinary certificates. And just to be clear, that was a very unpassionate job. If you have them, get out of them. They're not fun. I knew how expensive gourmet food was back then, so I did my business plan and thought it to be wise to offer specialty foods at reduced prices, as the thirst for gourmet was just beginning. So the timing and positioning was actually perfect. I started small, really small. So small it was in the alley off Pandora and Victoria in the East End. Mostly then frequented by hookers and johns than smartly dressed ladies shopping for their weekend dinner parties. All bets in the city were against me. It was a very scary time. But rule number 2, fear is your best motivator. When you are scared shitless, you simply go flat out, and no matter what it takes, long hours, you wear every hat, and you pray to God for success. The back alley was getting kind of tired after a few years. Or I was just frustrated chasing the hookers down the street. They did not know. This was my hood. Stay out. I was just selling different products. I needed a street presence, so again, fear prevailed. And along with a huge bank loan, I purchased a rather nasty East Side building, Hastings at Clark, and I pushed forward. The cleanup was horrific. I was the only legitimate business on the corner, and it was an uphill battle. Through careful expansions as to not to take on more debt than manageable, we grew into our current space. It did not come without issue. Nobody wanted a retailer that was willing to undercut prices. Everybody wanted you to maintain margin. And I'm in the East End. I was dragging people in. It wasn't great. So I was fighting my suppliers because I wanted to offer gourmet. And my byline then was making gourmet affordable. People would love it. Instead of paying $40 for a bottle of olive oil, they could get it for $20. And I became known as the place to go to. We grew little by little, and I knew that I had to do something different. And I knew that some of the products I didn't like the spice lines that were available in the city, weren't so nice. They were stale. When you turn them upside down, you see dust. You don't want that in spices. I'm very, very particular because I was a trained chef. I knew what to look for. I wasn't just a food retailer. I wasn't selling Kraft, Procter & Gamble. I wasn't selling Scott Bathgate products. I was selling things that were really upscale, but I didn't want the price to be prohibitive. So I thought, what can I do here? So I thought, I'm going to start my own trademark. So I thought of a good name, and I thought, Côte d'Azur sounds sort of sexy and French, and that might work. So I trademarked my line, called it Côte d'Azur, and started branding my own spices. From spices that moved to sea salts. We probably have 27 different sea salts, 115 spices. Then came chocolate. Then came beans and legumes. Then olive oil, and all of these things sort of came together. And I knew that in order to sell outside of my realm of Gourmet Warehouse, I would have to not have the name Gourmet Warehouse. Who wants to support me? They want to support their own business. So Côte d'Azur sort of became this really honored and valued brand, and I sell today to more than 200 stores in BC and Alberta. Our store grew into 18,000 square feet. It wasn't that much then, but each sort of segment we grew little by little. So as we could afford it, so as the banks wouldn't control me because they always wanted to give me more money. I was very careful to say no because they had no business owning my inventory or knowing what I was doing. I wanted to be independent. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. But today we offer more than 28,000 SKUs, and we're a destination for foodies everywhere. We offer gift baskets. We were named by Consumer, I don't even know what it's called, Consumer Affairs or something anyways, that we were the best gift baskets in Canada. We do an online, we're trying to learn that, we're not good, we're good at bricks and mortar, and we have in-store chefs to solve every cooking dilemma you could ever have. But I needed customers and lots of them, and my burn rate was up there. So in the middle of chaos, I thought a radio show would be really good. Nobody thought that was a good idea except me. I thought it would highlight food. It would engage listeners by helping them with meals. It would be amazing. Get away from hard, sort of sad news and enlighten people. Everyone thought I was crazy. Just because I knew a little bit about food, trends, and cooking does not make for a radio show. So I thought, I don't believe that. So I sat down and I wrote a proposal, and I pitched it, and they loved it. It was a departure from hard news, an hour of doing what we all love to do best, eat and drink. CKNW launched the first food and wine show with me as the host. It was very, very exciting. It was on Sunday nights at 6 o'clock, the worst damn slot you could ever get, ever. Sunday night, people are feeding their kids, making dinner, make sure homework is done. The radio is not on. Radio is driving in your car listening. So I lasted about 18 months. And then I was brought in, big lump in the throat, sit down. You know it's not you're doing a good job. They don't talk to you unless you're doing a really shitty job. So it was like Larry King couldn't make it in the 6 o'clock slot, so we're really sorry, but you know what? We're going to have to discontinue the show. And I was really, really sad. And I was trying not to cry because big girls don't cry, but the lump is rising, and I left. And through there, I'd met Bill Good, and Bill Good ended up being a very dear friend of mine, and he loved the idea of food and wine because he drinks wine and eats a lot of food. So he sort of intercepted and said, I would like to invite her as a special segment on my show. Oh, what a second chance. This is great. So I did the Bill Good Show for about 10 years, 10 to 12 years, as a special guest every week. And then Bill retired a year and a half ago. And then I repitched the show, and I do it now every Friday, and we call it Foodie Friday with Simi Sarah. So it's a half-hour, 40-minute sort of call-in, trends, news, all of that. Like Wim said, no money. It is just a presence. People think that because you're on air, it is validity, and it is. You can't really blow smoke forever. You have to have some sort of credentials to keep answering the right questions. So through that, way back when, I met the producer at Global TV. And to be on TV, you really have to be animated and energetic. And they asked me if I would like to come and do a food segment. It turned out really well, and for the last 20 years, I've been doing Cooking 101 at Global TV. They've moved my slot here and there, but I do it on the weekend news. So it makes it fun. It's a little bit more enlightening, and I teach everybody from the basics of how to cook an asparagus to making a hollandaise to whatever they want. And it really enhances the business because it's media, and media is a way to reach out. When I started, it was way before anybody knew what social media was. Are you kidding me? Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, it had not been conceived, never mind born. So we relied on bricks and mortar forms of advertising, radio, print, and TV. And it was really only if you were listening or watching that you knew. Web-based businesses were just emerging. They weren't making a lot of money. Nobody really had that much confidence to order online. So our store became a destination. And it was really that way that we built our business, by having really serious food things. We weren't Safeway, we weren't IGA, we weren't anything like it. I did not want to pay myself in stinky fish or sour lemons. I didn't sell anything that was perishable, which is a huge departure from a food store. I thought, why don't we mix food, because that was my strength, and then maybe introduce a few hard goods like measuring cups, spoons, pots and pans and whisks and tools. And I only started with about 3 or 4. And now we are the biggest retailer of kitchen goods and gourmet in Western Canada. It was 3 years ago that I was presented with an opportunity to purchase a specialty food importing company. After very little thought, and that I stress little, I should have thought longer, I just jumped in, both feet. Another visit to the bank, and I was the proud owner of Continental Importers. It was not an immediate success by any means. It had to be rebranded, it had to be cleaned up, it had to be repositioned. And I mentor a lot of culinary entrepreneurs, chef wannabes, restaurant wannabes, cookbook author wannabes, all of that. And my message to them, I had to absorb to myself. Allow for 5 years to meet relative success. The first year you're broke and questioning every day, what the hell did I do? The second year's not that much better. You're just treading water. You're still writing payroll from your personal checking account every once in a while because you're just pinched to the end. And then third year, you're turning the corner. Fourth year, it's looking pretty good, and by the 5th year, you've truly made your mark. If you haven't made your mark, you're not clearly branded by year 5 and people don't know you. you didn't do a good job. Bail and get out. I learned how to predict trends. It was imperative to know when quiche and sausage rolls had seen their 15 minutes of fame, and to know that bread was now dipped in olive oil and not spread with butter. Education, travel, sourcing, and being first in what you do is all about winning. My import company is specialty in olive oil, so I get to travel all over the Mediterranean basin looking for olive oil from Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, with Spain being the biggest producer in the world. It's an educational process every year. I was just in Milan last week trying to tell the Italians that the 33% increase is going to kill their product, but they really didn't care. So yeah, brace yourself, olive oil's going up. My final number 4 rule is never sit on your laurels. Lazy, passive, and cocky will always be your demise. Your head must always fit through the door. Try telling a lot of the chefs out there that. To lead is to inspire, and to inspire you must have passion. And without these key ingredients, your grasp loosens. You have to build a good team, and in retail, it's really hard. I never employ anybody. We start people at $14 an hour. I really am a proponent of a $15 minimum wage. You can't live in the city for less. It's not even possible. I would love it to be 20, but in order for it to be 20, every other product on the shelf would rise, and it's just this cycle of trying to make things work and trying to source the best prices for the best quality and to keep people engaged, because you want to keep your employees there. You want to give them benefits, you want to respect them, you want them to stay, because staying is your intelligence. You don't want them leaving all the time, and it's really hard. That would be the hardest thing I think that I look at. I always look forward, I never look back. You lead, your competition follows. I have been copied and copied and copied. I was the first one to do all my merchandising on Metro racks. Grocery stores usually had those really icky deep shelves, and I wanted it to be open and transparent and fresh and bright, because that's how people shop now. And I wanted it to have more than Heinz ketchup you will never find in my store. You will find 17 different Dijon mustards, 172 different spices, things you don't even know what they're used for, but we have them just in case. These are the things that you have to trailblaze. I was very honored in 2013 to be inducted into the BC Restaurant Hall of Fame and to be named Ware Magazine's 2016 Trailblazer. Internationally, there's a Global Innovator of the Year, and I represented Canada for the global innovation to bring culinary and cooking to the forefront in a very different format. And Wendy McDonald Award gave me the Entrepreneurial Global Innovator, Retail Innovator just this last month. When success meets you, be gracious and give back. It's essential. When you hold a lot of good cards, know your good fortune and share. Karma is the friend you need and want. 5 years ago, I founded a charity to benefit children in the East End, and because I live and work there, I don't live there, but I work there. When you put in as many hours as I do, I call it living there. I see children dragging empty backpacks up and down the street to the schools that are very, very poor in my hood. And so I thought, I've got to do something. The Children's Hospital is a brilliant organization, and all of the big charities that have wheels that are the size of, trailer tractors. I'm thinking of doing something in the hood. So I called on 8 of my friends that are brilliant chocolatiers in the city, and I asked them if they would come on board. And I called it the Chocolate Challenge. And what we do is we get 8 of the Thomas Haas and Greg Hook and Stephen Hodge and Chris Bonzon and all the brilliant chocolatiers in the city to create a chocolate confection. And we sell tickets to my customers, anybody that wants to come. And we have it in a hood event, so you can come as you are, jeans acceptable, no suits, no ties, just easy. We have wine bars, cappuccino bars, food stations, and everybody votes on the best chocolate that they like for the night. And all the proceeds go to benefit the fight firefighter snack program, Strathcona Backpack, and Project Chef that teaches inner city kids how to actually cook. Half of them don't know. They think dinner is nachos in a bag. And this just doesn't work for me. I really feel that when you go to school on an empty tummy and there is no lunch, your learning capacity is diminished and minimized, and you never can break the cycle. So we just finished our 5th year, and I think to date for one store with no big wheels, we're at about $85,000 that we've donated to feed these children. And this year we did 2 refrigerators, filled them with food, and took them to the 2 poor schools in the downtown east side, and healthy snacks, carrots, celery, pears, apples, oranges, all the things that they need for their little brains to function, because they have nothing at home. In my world, I've co-founded Les Dames d'Escoffier, which is a chapter that professional female chefs, winemakers, and people in hospitality work to give women scholarships, women that couldn't afford to go to school. It's primarily women dominated, and that's only because males dominate the kitchens. And for women to get culinary educations and to be employed as executive chefs is still not on equal playing field. So we work to raise money to give scholarships to women. So if you know of any women that are wanting to get into the culinary world, we offer scholarships, and they're brilliant. So that's another charity that I work for and happen to really be sort of passionate about. I don't have lucky genes or a lottery win. I built my business on hard work and vision. I was born in Vancouver, raised in the East End, and I went to Templeton High School. I knew then that I wanted much, much more. So I've owned it, and I made it happen. And I always say, never count on luck, count on yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
If you'd like to just take a seat on that'd be great. Thank you very much. So if I could call on the other 2 game changers to come back to the stage. As Wim and John, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. You all still are here. I wasn't sure after that breakfast if some of you would rush off. Anyways, I'd like to thank our business owners today, Wim and John and Karen. Thank you all for your lovely stories and your stories of success. It's interesting how each of you sort of stumbled upon your business. You didn't wake up one day in school and say, I want to be selling cookware, or I'm going to sell furniture. I thought I might ask you, what was the turning point, or what was one of the parts in your career that made you choose that retail focus? Maybe I'll go with Wim.
I did grow up in the business, so for me, it was a natural extension. I didn't think I would be sticking with the business itself, but at a very young age, I kind of knew I was going to be in gardening, because I was at age 13, I was propagating plants. Now, what nerdy kid propagates plants at age 13? So evidently, it was something that I knew I was going to get into. I liked the idea of business, and I knew I was going to grow it to something more than just the gardening end of things, which, as an end result, ended up happening.
Karen?
Oh my gosh. I loved cooking back in high school. It was my favorite thing to do, and it was a passion, and it was there. Only I didn't have family support to say, you know what, here, we're bypass everything else you're going to do and go directly to culinary school. I had to go and circumvent it in a way that I could get myself to Europe, because Canadian culinary schools were still teaching overcooked roast beef and mushy vegetables, so that wasn't an option.
I've had some of those meals.
They're there.
John?
Well, I think one of the secrets to success is to know what you're meant to do. When I came to Canada, I remember on the boat, they said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to get an axe and cut down trees, because that's what all you hear about in Germany. Then they laughed and said, they use chainsaws now. And I didn't know what a chainsaw was. And I said, well, I don't buy a chainsaw. So I had no idea, but I just wanted to do something with my life. And it just fell into places. I never decided to go into the furniture business. I want, as I said in my little speech there, I want to get buyers and sellers together. I want to do franchising, and so yeah, there was no conscientious decision to go in it, but I'm glad I did because it was easy.
We're glad you did too.
I see a relationship there.
Thank
Chopping
you.
down trees, furniture.
Exactly.
Oh, now I get the
Exactly.
connection 20 years after.
You know, I'm not a millennial. I know you're all surprised, but I'm actually a baby boomer. And I've heard each of their businesses, the way I was introduced to them was through the media. I heard each of you on CKNW and have shopped at all of your locations. So the interesting
We like
part,
you.
the interesting part is all three of you have built a strong personal brand, not only a business brand. And I'd wonder if you have any advice for the business owners here about how that changed your business focus, your personal brand. Karen?
Oh, personal brand, that's a tough one. You really have to jump in, stay focused, and be in it. Not just manage it, but breathe it, live it, and be in it. Personal branding, media helps a lot because it's the only wide focus that you can get, that you can shout it out. We do bus ads now. I mean, somebody, okay, this is really funny and really embarrassing, but we did a bus ad for the Q4, and it was me holding a gift basket saying, we have everything you need or whatever. So some company phoned up and said, oh, we saw you're out on the bus and we have a great opportunity. Maybe you'd like to jump in with us. We have a dump truck company out in Richmond. Would you like to be on our trucks? That wasn't the branding I was looking for. But it really is hard. You have to stay committed, and retail is brutal right now because the American big box is moving in. They gobble up all the little guys. 10 years ago, there were 50% more independents in retail and cooking and culinary than they are today. So I always try to say, always look to who's Canadian owned and operated and put your patronage there. I'm sounding like Trump. Oh my God. But branding is huge, and always have a focus.
Wim, how did you get on the radio?
Well, I guess I was a gardening expert, and they had a gardening show. They needed to fill it, and they said, "Well, you've got the looks for radio, so obviously you're the guy." I think I recognize that branding would be important, even at a young age, because we all like celebrities. You all like somebody you know or you see on TV or somebody you hear. Name recognition helps to grow your business. And, I know a lot of you, whatever your business, some lawyers in here, good friends with you guys, being in your community and being recognized will build trust. I see Daniel out there, and I don't trust you, sorry, but most lawyers I will trust. But it's being in your community, being out there, having yourself public will gain this trust, which will have the consumer potentially come to you first, or at least come to you some of the time. And that's why I sort of stayed with the continuum of branding, whether it was through media or writing the book, or all of that was sort of just part of sort of maybe gaining trust with my consumer.
Very good. Another part of branding is your social activism. Each of you have been involved in charities and giving back to the community. I'm sure you've got a very strong social heart, but at the same time it's also helped your businesses. John, do you have any comments on that and in your involvement with charities?
I wasn't prepared for this. I just think, and that's very personal. I'm not money motivated. I like to build things. Like talking about the branding, for instance, when I had United Furniture Warehouse, we were on television quite a bit, and from 60-second we went to 30-second commercial, then to 15-second commercial, and I was the one, just before I saw it, I wanted to have 10-second commercial, just say United Furniture Warehouse, wherever we can. But now, being in, my board decided to call it the John Volken Academy, to change the name, and I have a very difficult time saying John Volken Academy because, they think, yeah, okay, who do you think you are? But branding I think, is vital. It's so important. And yeah, now the question was the one you just asked about why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Giving back, how important was that?
Yeah, it's me. I don't know, like some people like to take the money with them when they die, and I like to say I'd like my last check to bounce. You know, it's once you look after your family, after you look, you know, and you feel comfortable, you give it away. And I had a difficult time with, I thought if I do this and I won't get paid and I probably won't work as hard if I don't make any money because now I give it away. Well, I work harder now, really. I'm older and I work harder now, longer hours from morning to night till 9 o'clock. And you know, when you see lives being changed, it's an awesome thing. As human beings, we are like a big family, and we got to look after each other. And some of our people, they cannot look after themselves. So if we have more talents, then we should. I think it's our obligation to share and to help our fellow men that cannot look after themselves.
The thing I see with all three of them is passion. They have a passion for life and a passion for their business, and it comes out in your speaking today and in your businesses. Now, for all of you out there, we are operating Slido today, so if you have any questions, we'd like to ask them. So we're going to go to, you know, here's a question for you. Who or what inspires you to keep going through adversity?
Boy, that's a good one. Okay, who put that question up there? Can you make it an easier one? Oh, thanks, Jillian. Really appreciate that. You know, through adversity, I think what drives you is just what started the drive to begin with. I'm unlike John. Maybe I love making money, and I think I get a thrill from making money, and I'm sure John does too. But the fact is that adversity just is another challenge, another hurdle that you have to get over. And I mean, the number of hurdles that business people go through continually, maybe more so from the start because you know you don't have the resources and the contacts, connections, but hurdles are good. They keep it real. They keep your focus, and also help to maybe make you step back and have a closer look at your business from the outside rather than from the inside, walking in through that same corridor to your office, get behind your computer and do your stuff. And I think it's probably, hurdles are a good way to sort of have us stay real with our business.
Karen, do you have any comments?
I have to say I agree with Wim. I really like making money. Sorry, I like traveling and doing things and going places. But again, you have to know that you give back. But adversity is always there. I call them putting out fires, and I have fires regularly. You have fires with retail. You have fires with employees. You have fires with suppliers. You always do. If it was easy, don't you think every single person would do it? So adversity is part of doing business. If you can't suck it up, then just stay out of the business, because it's no matter if it's plants or food or furniture or a restaurant or selling shoes, it's all going to have the same challenges, only a different form of it. So you know what? It's part of making you who you are. If you can handle it, you're better for it. If you can't, walk away.
We've also talked about the changing demographics. There's a different group of employees. I've been doing a lot of hiring in my career, and it's difficult today. So what are you finding the big challenge to retain good employees?
I think being involved yourself, making sure you acknowledge, like, you know, I think there's people, employees get a bigger thrill out of you recognizing something they did over and above wage. I mean, everyone wants to make a good wage, but when the boss acknowledges that, you know, you did a good job on that, and they had no idea that you were even, you know, you were advised of it, or it was in your presence or whatever. The fact is, yeah, compliment where you can, where good work was done. But being involved with your business, I mean, I've had to clean out shitty toilets, and I've done that because I wanted to show my staff that I would do it too, and I'm not going to just make you do it. And all those things, I think, are just part and parcel of being involved with business.
John, you've had a lot of employees.
Yeah, well, just one word, be a good example. and set a culture, be fair to them, but I just want to say something about the adversity. There are two answers to it. Number one, I think adversity should be celebrated because every time you overcome one, it makes you stronger. And so I think adversity is a good thing because after a while, you're able to handle it.
There's a great question up there. It's quite open-ended, but let me ask this. What was your oh my, what did I do story that you can share? Now you can share. We're in a mixed company here, okay? Caren?
Oh my God, what did I do? There's lots, but what am I thinking? Yeah, when I bought my most recent company and I got in and I saw that it was so bad that it couldn't be any worse, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I have enough at the Gourmet Warehouse to keep me fulfilled till I'm 97 and a half. And now I've got this brand new company that really is in the toilet. It has and every time you turn something over, it's worse than you thought. And it's like, oh my God, what have I done? And then to rebrand it and repackage everything and get in there and clean up and throw out and stuff that like, you wouldn't want it if I gave it to you. Now I have, and you can't even triage it. Anybody doesn't want it. And I'm like left with this empty warehouse to fill up and now try to resell it. That was my, oh my God, what have I done? And July 14th is 3 years. And in my sort of presentation, I said, it's a 5-year deal. 3 years, I've stopped paying payroll out of my personal checking account. It actually is now making money. It turned the corner, and it's a 20% increase every single month. But I threw my weight behind it, I put my name behind it, and I work in it and not on it.
John, your biggest moment, anything you can add?
No, there were dozens of them because I think as a successful businessman or a successful person, we need to be able to be flexible. If you're stuck with one idea and say, no, this is what I want to do, determination is good, but I think as a businessman, sometimes you get hunches, and you follow those hunches wherever they are, and I did throughout my life. Coming to Canada was a hunch, and was an awesome decision, I think, and throughout my life, except when I got married, I made a conscientious decision. There she is.
Terrific. Any thoughts on social media? I mean, when you first started your business, social media wasn't there. Now it's become such an integral part. Caren?
Oh my God. Okay, that's the hardest hurdle. If you're not a millennial and you weren't, did not grow up with computers. Like, it was just such a learning curve, the hardest learning curve for me. And my friend who runs Edelman, Bridget Anderson, said to me, you need to be on social media. I said, I don't have time to get to work and do the work. And now you're telling me take pictures and Twitter, and oh my God, I was just freaked out. No, she came over, you make me breakfast and I'll teach you what to do. I don't want to do this. Shut up, you're doing it. This is way too much. I don't want to do it. But I see the advantage of it, and my daughter, who does all the web marketing and advertising for Gourmet Warehouse, pushes me and pushes me and pushes me. So for me, it's valuable. I'm not really concerned how many likes or don't likes and all of that business. I could care less. I really I have fun. I go home from work, I cook dinner, I drink wine. Do I care about how many likes? That's a millennial thing, but I know we have to do it, and in my demographic of age, it's a necessary evil, but I do it.
Yeah, I think it's vitally important. Social media is sort of the advertising of the future, and the customer of the future too. So if you're not in that game, you will be missing out. It's going to catch up with you. And I would say in my business, I had to make sure that we tried outsourcing it just for ease. But I think, and depending on your business, would it be different for an accounting firm to outsource or have somebody internally. For me, internally, because it's such a visual business, internally was better for me, and we found the right person to do it within the company. But you know, you have to get on board, and it needs to be a presence. And again, it's part of your company branding or your personal branding, and that's what's going to gain you consumers in the future.
And are you using all modes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, I would say Facebook and Instagram for us, for sure, are the two biggest ones. We do a little bit on Twitter, but not much. But Instagram, number one, and Facebook, number two.
John, when you were getting started, they had clock radios, and mine still flashes 00. I have to program it. But were you doing social media? You were doing a lot of advertising.
Not when I started, yes. I just want to say amen what Wim said. You know, it's so important nowadays to go into it. I myself don't do it because, you know, I'm 75 and I didn't grow up with this, but we have staff doing this, and I support it. It's vital nowadays to do it.
Advice to the audience. What advice would you give young people today getting started in business?
Oof.
Maybe we go with John to start.
Well, I always have short answers, and I feel like just do it. You know, if you have the whim, if you got the guts to it, it's not for the faint-hearted, for sure. You know, you have to be ready to take your bumps. But so what? Every time you bump, you become better. There's nothing worse. That's a little story for somebody starting a restaurant, goes broke, and afterwards, I never do it business again. It's like getting married and get a divorce and say, I'm never going to get married again. You start again, and sooner or later it will come. And you don't give up, and you as I said, it's not for the faint-hearted. So, but if you have the guts, and you don't need money. You have an idea, somehow it gets together. Don't give up, do it.
I'm sure each of you have heard from your friends who said, you shouldn't do that. That's not a good idea. Why are you running a business? Glad you didn't take that advice.
No question about it. You know, I'd say for anyone getting involved in business nowadays, and even if you're sort of at the early stages of your business, the harder you work, the more you will get in return. And there is a time in which you paid your dues and you can start taking life easy. But to build a business nowadays is a lot of work, and you have to give a lot of time to it, day and night, and be prepared to sort of just work hard no matter what, and in the trenches as well. I mean, it's not necessarily all glamour owning a business by any means.
You've all spent 25 years becoming instant successes, so congratulations. There's a great Slido question there. For a startup business, would you invest more time in a more convenient experience or a more reliable experience? What is today's consumer looking for?
Honesty, transparency, fair pricing, good service. If you don't have good service, they're not coming back. It's vital that you respect and really make your customer feel like they are truly important. They are. Like, thank you for shopping with us. We really appreciate it. They need to think that their presence in your store is valued, and that is vital, especially in a bricks and mortar business.
You know, convenience is the competition. So for me, I have competition, but all sorts of competition. You know, you can go to Save On Foods and buy plants. You can go to Home Depot and buy plants. You can go to Guess and buy ladies' fashion. It comes down to convenience, and I think that's, when I go out, I don't shop much, but when I go shopping, I like to go to one place where I can kind of do the most at one time. So making sure you're convenient to your customer, whether it be delivering goods to them or different hours. Banks have recognized that. You know, they're open now 7 days a week. Who would have thought that? Again, convenience, we have busy lives. We have children. We have businesses, our work. We need to get things done quickly and in and out. And so my competition is definitely, I would say, the competitiveness of convenience.
John, for your business, United Furniture?
Yeah, more than this, transparency and friendliness and service, that's all goes part of it. They all advertising. I think I would suggest find a niche. you know, find a niche and say, how can I do this better than they are doing it? And we did that with United Furniture Warehouse. Of course, now what I'm doing now, it's not a business. If you consider giving the money away as a business, but find a niche. And with United Furniture Warehouse, and for instance, our niche was everyday low prices. Of course, you have to promote that properly. But when the competition sold 2 sofas and made $100 more, I would sell 3 or 4 sofas and made $100 less and still made more money. So I think that's a secret. Find a service or a product that is better than what is existing now, and I think you have a success.
I like the idea of being able to describe your business in 3 or 4 words. Caren?
Unique, incredibly helpful, price sensitive, and friendly.
Wim?
You know, I get all the time from my customers, they, you know, when they see me, they come up and say, you know what, this is my happy place. Is it 3 words? No, in fact, I don't know if you can describe your business in 3 words, but I think we've created an environment within our Knapp itself that is just people come and feel comfortable, relaxed, and whether that's from good customer service or reliability or good information, the mix of product, I honestly hear that so often, that this is my happy place. So I feel confident we've created an environment that is that works for my customer anyway.
You're not only selling products, you're selling an experience. You know, I spent a lot of time in your store. I was telling Caren earlier that I spent a lot of money there and I'm still a lousy cook. Why is that? I think it's false advertising.
Or you're just a failure.
The failure's the right part. The failure's the right part. But no, I enjoy going into your store and looking, just window shopping. Lots of times I'll come out and spend a lot of money, and lots of times I haven't really seen what I want. But I'll go and experience it. And it's the experience we're looking for. Yeah, very good, very good. On advertising, what have you found to be your most effective form of advertising? We've talked about social media. That's the free advertising, money that you're investing yourself in your business. But John, you spent a lot on television advertising.
Well, I think the most important thing is consistency. There's nothing worse than warm one time, cold the other day, lukewarm the next day. Consistency, consistency, consistency. I mean, you might as well say close to brainwashing. Really. Not probably the right word for it, but that you could make an argument for it.
That's a good point. Consistency is important from my perspective as well. Like, I gained over the 30 years of being in the Tri-Cities, I would buy the back page of the Tri-City News, sorry. And I bought that because I know that the majority of people don't have time maybe to read the paper or don't have that time that week. But they still have to pick up that paper and put it in the recycling, and they'll see Art Knapp. I know that 50% of the time that newspaper will land face down, and they pick up the newspaper on the doorstep and they see Art Knapp. And maybe through that, when they, and particularly early on, when they're thinking about doing some gardening or doing some planting, they may just think Art Knapp. They may not look at the items, they may not look at the things that are on sale, but they will at least get Art Knapp in their face a little bit. And I only had so much budget, but I got first right of refusal on all those back pages annually, so I always had the consistency of that back page at least throughout the entire year.
Caren?
This is a true story, and I was still in the back lane chasing people down the alley, and it wasn't going as good as I thought it would. And so I thought the brightest and smartest thing to do would be to invest in a TV commercial. My friend Umberto, when he came to Canada from Italy, and he told me this story, and this is hilarious. He said that he used to park, he had a Ferrari. I don't know if you ever used to go to the little yellow house, some of you downtown on Hornby. Anyways, he would park his Ferrari in front of the restaurant so that everybody that came would think he was just this shining pillar of success. He said, you always pretend that you're this monster pillar of success because people like to run with winners. So I took that advice and I did this TV commercial, and who knew then that it was the cost of a used car? This is, again, before social media. So I did this TV commercial about come to the, you know, the hidden secret and blah, 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 blah. Overnight, that TV commercial changed everything. They were jamming the back lane looking, I only had 5 parking spots. People were sort of, get out of my spot and walk. It was incredible. So for me, because it was the time and the place to do it, because there was no other alternative, it was the TV commercial that I did.
And Caren, did you hire people to help you with that commercial?
Well, I was working, I was doing my segment at Global, and so I got one of the production managers to come in, and I said, I want to be the person in the commercial because I want brand recognition. There's no point having somebody that doesn't attribute themselves or align with the business to do it. So here I'm walking along, and then I'm sort of popping out of this grocery store aisle going, shop with the Gourmet. It was so corny, I can't even begin to tell you. I hope it's so vanished into like vaporized. It was awful, but it worked so well because they associated me with the cooking segment on Global, with the Bill Good show, and it just sort of all began to take its point, and advertising is its key because you're under a rock. Any other way, you're under a rock. And now, in today's business, social media is just such a magical thing. You can elevate yourself to any proportion. But then, no. We were using payphones.
John, I heard you earlier give the United Furniture Warehouse jingle. Did you come up with that, or did you hire someone to help you with that?
30-second story. This fellow comes into my office. I was always wondering, should I stay in this business or not? And because furniture, I don't really care for furniture, to tell you the truth. But so this fellow comes in and said, you know what you need is a commercial. And what I said to him, what I need is selling another sofa so I can pay the rent in a couple of days. And he said, you need a commercial, you need a jingle, you need a jingle. And I said, no, I don't. And then he said, look, if you don't like the jingle, you won't pay, you don't have to pay for it. And I decided then I would like the jingle. He left. I thought you're going to forget all about it until he comes in with a jingle. And I said, oh my goodness. And the jingle really had three verses to it. And I said, I don't like it. And I told him the part I don't like about it. So he said, look, and he was angry. And I said, what kind of customer service is that? He said, people don't know anything about it, and they think they know it all. And he left. I thought I'd never see him again. So he comes back, and he made those changes, which I suggested. Now, what are you going to say to that? And he said, you know something? Your change made sense. It sounds better. So I bought it. Then I started and I paid $950 for the jingle. And I put in my drawer when we started with advertising on television. I was looking something unique. We thought about taking some glass and smash it or something just to attract attention. And I said, oh, wait a minute, I got this jingle. And that's the rest of the story. But I changed the name then eventually from United Furniture, from United Buy and Sell Service to United Furniture. Was the same thing. United Buy and Sell Service, boom, boom, United Furniture Warehouse, same thing. So we went to the guy who was singing it, and he said, I wouldn't do it for you for $1 million because every time I hear that jingle, it just irks me because I would have made hundreds of thousands of dollars if I get the royalty for it. But he was a friend of mine, and he said, it's a second-hand store. He got $50 to sing the jingle. So he was mad every time he heard it. So anyways, there are bargains out there if you do it right. I hope I wasn't too long for that, but I love the story. That's a true story.
Good story. Good story.
Do you have a jingle, Wim?
Oh, no, I don't have a jingle. No. You know the problem.
Would you like
with
a jingle?
That was creepy. I did. You know, the problem with that is the money it takes to have that recognized is the other part of that equation, and that's a big part of the equation. So, find what media works for you. Social media is inexpensive, and you can, I think, use it really well to your best interest if you have the right person behind it, giving the right message, the right photographs, and I think that's more important than a jingle even nowadays.
Terrific, terrific. I think these have been all terrific comments. Let's give a round of applause to our panel. Well done, and let's give a round of applause to the moderator to getting us out here at 11:28.
Well done.
Just in time. Woo.
Thanks, Walter. I was shooting for 11:25, but okay, we'll go with that. On behalf of the Tri-States Chamber of Commerce and Pacific Coast Terminals, we have some parting gifts for our guests. And Graham, thanks for all the information. That was fantastic. Even if it was a little creepy at times, it's a whim. So I got a few thank yous before we close out the day. Let me flip the paper here. First off, thanks again to all our sponsors, Ken Richardson and Jillian at EPR. Thanks for stepping up. Really appreciate it. You got some great things coming down the pipe. Keep your eyes open for what's coming up with EPR. Our panel sponsors, Van City and the City of Coquitlam. Engagement sponsor, Ballistic Arts. Our venue sponsor, again, the fantastic Hard Rock Casino. Breakfast sponsor, Carlo Zarillo and Snap Tri-Cities. Thank you very much. Our gold sponsors, Daniel Richardson and BTM Lawyers. I think he's still here in the back somewhere. And the Canadian Western Bank, David McGregor. David's becoming a big supporter, which is great. And our in-kind sponsors, the Tri-City News, Butter Studios, and Sandpiper Signs and Decal. Big round of applause for all of them who make this possible. Also want a big thank you to our Economic Development Committee who put this together, and it's chaired by Mr. Paul McDonald, and it's got Carlo Zarillo, Jillian Kirk, Christina Pereira, Desiree Dupuis, and Jennifer McKinnon. They're all volunteered their time to put this together, so a big round of applause for them. If you're not a member of the Premier Business Association, I said basketball, going back my day, Business Association of the Tri-Cities, you should become a member of the Chamber. See Judith over there at the booth. We got lots of good things coming up. We got a bunch of new stuff coming down the pipe in the fall, which you'll hear about shortly. So please get involved and make your voice heard. A couple events coming up you need to be aware of. We have our Mayor's Barbecue, which is on Thursday, the 7th of September in Port Moody. And John McEwen, if you're still here, yes, you will be part of the panel. I know you were left off. And our golf tournament's coming up on June the 7th. Up at Westwood, and it's a Caddyshack theme, so dress as your favorite Caddyshack character. If you haven't seen the movie, you're missing out, and it'll be a great day. So once again, thanks very much for your support. It's events like this that keep the Chamber going and growing and thriving. We have a new office. We got an open house coming up later in the month to check out our new offices. Have a great business day out there, and thanks for coming out, folks.